Hi, this is Design Lota, the podcast about life as Indian designers. I'm Sushi.
And I'm Angie. We're back with part 2 of our chat with Madhuri from the Higher Worthy podcast.
In part 1, we spoke about the big gap in the recruiting process for designers in tech. We addressed self awareness, non obvious skills, and navigating ambiguous titles and job descriptions. If that would help you in your journey, do check it out.
In this episode, we talk about the importance of understanding business in product design. We go through the struggles of those exhaustingly long face to face interviews.
And the emotional roller coaster of the process, from putting yourself out there to handling rejection.
So you mentioned about a lot of designers working in services firms and services industry, and now we are seeing that definitely designers need to build up on their product thinking skills.
Yeah.
So how would you think someone who's worked from a services background can build up that side of them of thinking holistically on the product?
So product thinking, right? Very interesting product thinking that I have learned mostly is through understanding business. If you understand how a business functions, can you understand what is a business model canvas? When you understand a business model canvas, the components of it, you will understand where is the money coming from, where is the money going, where are they spending most of the time in, who is the customer, what is your product segment, what's the value proposition, and all of these things. If you understand this, you'll be able to change the design no matter where you are. Design is informed by this product decisions and all of these business decisions. We cannot fool ourselves and say that we are not related to the business. Who are you working for? You're working for a business, right? So we need to have this thought process of understanding the business. When we understand the business, we will design better. If we don't understand the business, we cannot design better. We will be in a silo because the design team will be like, I will make things nice and look good and make it non-breakable, functionable and all of that. But that's only till that level. If you want to impact real change, you will start looking at the business completely differently if you understand how the business works. If business is willing to invest money and time into design, why can't designers invest money and time into business? Okay, you can't understand business, at least take a mini course online. At least you can understand how does a business model canvas work. Can you open up your own product that you're working on? Say you're working on LMS or something that is related to school related service. So can you tell me who are your customers? No, not your persona. I want to know who are your customers end of the day. That is when you will truly understand how to pick up product skills, because then you will get into their feet, and because that person has put in a certain amount of money, certain amount of thought process into all of this, and then you will be like, oh, this person has put in money because they want to save x amount of time in doing all these tasks, because my product solves all of these tasks. And you should be happy because somebody is willing to invest that time and money into your product. So won't you make this product better for them? As a designer, you have more power now because you know who is this. So understand business, and that's when no matter where you are, from service to product to Google's of anywhere of the world, this is the biggest advantage you can have, is to understand your business. That's where I think product thinking comes in. There's a lot more aspects, but in my understanding, this is the starting point.
My next question was about understanding if you're built to be a manager or an individual contributor or IC. I think you've done an episode on
Yeah,
this
yeah.
about design management. Pretty much everything we're talking about today, Madhuri has an episode on separately. So this is kind of a preview. So whichever thing you want to know more about, please go listen to the Higher Worthy podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. I actually should be disqualified for this question because I am mostly an IC, and I work with my colleagues who are also very independent and fierce in their autonomy. So it's more like a collaboration for me rather than, I'm working under somebody. There's nothing like that for me. So I never had this, but I've had a little bit of learning on these aspects. So I can probably tell you that you should test it out to know if this is for you. If
Mhm.
you do not test it out, you will not know it. Are you invested in somebody's growth? That is something that you need to ask,
Yeah.
because end of the day, you might bring in that person, you might nurture their talent, But if that person is also not interested in the same level that you are, then it's a win-loss situation. They might win because they get a paycheck and all of that. It's a loss for you because you're trying to nurture somebody, and it's not going to go forward. So you need to know when to quit also. So I have realized that it is not entirely from me, but maybe at this point my status quo is I'm not a fan of management, so it's not for me.
Okay.
But at one point, I do want to try better. I do want to learn better. But this is not something that it's natural to me. Many people, some people are made out to be good managers. I have had the fortune of having one, so I know that she's made out to be, but not
Mm-hmm.
for me, definitely.
The reason I ask is also like it becomes kind of a fork in the road, like you have to either pick this or this, and that's how it goes.
That's right.
But like you said, how you know is by
Yes,
doing.
yes, that is true.
Now I'm going to go into a little more on the whole interview process. One of the things I've seen is we prepare for portfolio reviews, how I'm going to walk through the portfolio. But we also see like behavioral and situational questions.
Yeah.
How can someone prepare for something like that?
A very interesting question, because this has been a very common struggle among all hiring
Mhm.
positions, right? Because we are like, okay, I've hired this person with a great portfolio, and the only way that you could understand with this person is actually devising a day long interview process where you are collaborating with this person, from morning to the evening. Otherwise, you wouldn't know, right? Like, for example, it's a very simple thing. Even if this person is hungry, right? I've seen examples where, like, I'm hungry, but no, I have to finish this problem statement and I have to go. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but there are some people who are very hungry and their problem can wait. I can go have my food, I'll solve it. And there's nothing wrong with either of them, actually. Nothing wrong, even in an interview scenario, nothing wrong. But what ends up
Hmm.
happening is, in a microscopic level, they will look at you and say that, oh, for you the problem is not very important. Hey, dude, seriously, if you're a human being, you're hungry, you will get hangry.
Yeah.
Then what will happen? You'll
Yeah.
shout at the people around you. I mean, it's stress testing you wantedly to see if you will get angry at the other person. It makes no sense. But these are the useless tests that don't work, also, right? So, what I have seen, I've heard from some good people that when they pull in a person for a full day interview,
Mm-hmm.
by the first few 10 minutes, they know that they're going to hire this person or not. And the full day is basically to support their decision or against their decision. So that means that somehow the gut feel has set in that you would be a great ad for them
Hmm.
already. Like, they know who they're going to hire. It's not judgment. It's only you're trying to figure out what's the best deal for me. Because you have so many applications, you're able to do that. If you don't have so many applications, you won't be able to do that. So you need to do like a interview process. One is, of course, the till one level is where your portfolio works. After that, what works is, can you collaborate? Can you
Hmm.
talk better? Can you communicate? I don't know if you saw that viral video on communication. I don't know if you saw that. One person, he actually shows a hand movement. He basically says, this is 5 claps. I will give you 5 claps. Now turn behind, and to the person next in line, give him the same information.
Okay.
Right? So by the time it comes back to the first person, this person would be doing 10 claps for no reason and a different handshake. That means that is how communication happens. It's nothing wrong of the 10th person, nothing wrong of the first person, but that is how it happens. So the communication leak, the understanding of how this whole thing happens. Can you communicate and be assertive and give a reasoning on why is this not working? Can you tell me that? Will you get defensive? They'll be able to see all of these traits in
Hmm.
a live interview session. Unfortunately, you cannot prepare for them, because what your true self will come out. If you're hangry, your true self is coming out. You cannot
Yeah.
stop that. And they will see the self with you if they hire you. And
Yeah.
if everything goes well, everything went well. But within the first 3 months, you're in more scrutiny because you went through this.
Hmm. I mean, I've been in an interview where I said I'm hungry. I want to take this up post lunch, because also the way this whole, especially the on-premise face-to-face interview thing, right, where you meet 4 or 5 people on the same day. It's not likely that on a work day you might be so on all the time
Yeah,
in your head. Like, now think of an idea, now think on your feet,
yeah.
now whiteboarding challenge, now this. So it's definitely a lot. And I know there's a reason why it's designed that
Yeah,
way, that process, because they have you for one day, maybe they've flown you over from another city or something.
yeah,
So that's the time they have, and that's the time everyone has. So maybe a designer can also think that I know that this is what is asked for me, so let me sleep well, let me eat my breakfast,
yeah.
have a good breakfast, and then be ready.
Day long interviews are definitely hard on everybody. They're going to be hard
Hmm.
because you are sitting there being scrutinized, and you are like, I should not make any slip up. This might cost me an opportunity. This is a big deal. I don't know what will happen, XYZ. But you know what? End of the day, whatever you are is going to come out, right? If you are tensed and you still manage to keep a calm exterior outside, and I'm not expecting everybody to keep it. Some people go bonkers and they're like, I'll do this, this is all I can do, take it or leave it. Or some red flags that you don't know that are red flags will appear for your employers, whereas some green flags that you think are red flags are actually great for some employers. You do not know, and that's where culture is a very important aspect, right? For example, in Amazon, they have 7 principles, very detailedly opened up, 7 to 8, I think 8. Yeah. And they say that they have 7 rounds for a reason, that every manager who's coming for that round is catching one principle and coming and saying, are you performing against this principle? So if you pass all of this, then only they will then consider you for the final HR rounds and all of this. So that's why you need that strong, unbiased person. And then there'll be one person who all these 7 people report to and say that, yes, this person works out. He has had a yes, yes, yes from everybody. And then only finally this is. So this is a strong culture that is based on principles that say that these principles should not be broken. Otherwise, we are not going to hire this person. And that is where most of the companies fall flat, because they do not have this structure set up for them, that is coming and telling them, this person is not biased for action, I'm not going to hire this person. This person doesn't have the data backing aspect, we're not going to hire. Or this person has it, let's hire them. Even if he has only 80% bias to action, can we still consider him? Right? So those are the aspects that only a strong culture can allow you to inform and move forward. And then you can also work backwards, right? If you know what Amazon expects, can't you work backwards and be like, okay, this is what they expect, I'm failing here, can I improve this? And it's actually a very positive experience for you too, because no matter what job you go to, it's going to be the same. Good culture will give you good results for you as a person, and no matter what job you get, you will still do really well.
I'm also talking about the questions where you're put into a scenario where you're told,
Yeah,
tell me about a time when there was a conflict and what did you do about it. So how do you think we should approach these?
I think end of the day, every person brings in whatever they can bring in best,
Mm-hmm.
and what works best every time is never highlight who is wrong, who is right in a scenario. Always bring in context to every scenario. That's why it's called contextual interview for a reason. Bring in the context on why what went wrong. Is your analysis of the context exactly what you think it is? Or are you trying to blame something on somebody? Right? That's what they're looking for. See, for example, many common scenarios would be like, this project X rolled out in your life, and maybe you didn't feel good about it. That's an obvious scenario, right? And this project Y went out and you felt awesome about it. Now, as an interview, when I ask you what was the worst situation that you ever faced in your job, you can say that I didn't feel good about this project. And then
Mm-hmm.
you are basically analyzing the situation and saying that this context it was not right. The premise of this product was decided based on XYZ factors rather than this factors, what is usually supposed to do. This is how, when you present a rational contextual argument, we are happy to take that answer, anybody who is in that position, because they will
Yeah.
they will
Yeah.
understand that you're able to break down an answer very well. If
Hmm.
you're not able to do that, then people will assume that, okay, you have either the tendency to blame somebody without understanding what is it that you have actually done,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is why it is called a contextual situational questions. So when you read about situational analysis, this is a big thing in business case studies where they talk about how to analyze a context and present it.
Yeah.
So if you can learn about that before your interview, not like how MBAs do it, where they write 120-page document. No, you don't need to do that. You just need to understand the principles of it before you do it. I myself am learning this so that I can improve my day communication with other people.
Speaking about interviews, knowing when to say, I did this, I thought of this, versus then we thought we'll do this.
Yeah.
When do you harp on the collaborative part of it? And when do you focus and say, but I was the one who came up with this?
Okay. I don't know if this is a very common thing in other organizations. You have to tell me where there is a time for collaboration, there is a time for you going deep. So you converge and you diverge, right?
Yeah.
So when that is the situation, you know that when you have converged, you have gotten these XYZ aspects from the converge. And when you diverge, you did ABC things and you brought back and added it to the XYZ, right? So XYZ, ABC, and all of these six aspects is what you're going to converge further on, and they're going to become much more clearer, and the design is
Mhm.
going to develop from there. So I assume that when you do these aspects, like in putting in a portfolio or any of these things, you need to share the thought process very clearly that this was a team effort of 20 people, 25 people.
Mhm.
That also shows that you worked in a team of 20, 25 people. That's not wrong, that's very good, because then when I'm considering you for my job, I will not have questions on have you worked on my size of companies and teams, right? Then it will be easier for you also. So that's what
Mhm.
I think should be okay. If you were a team of one, please say that you're a team of one, and there's nothing wrong. In fact, you might
Mhm.
attract better opportunities if you're a team of one, because they'll be like, oh, you did from this to this, so you should come and work for me. That's the kind of thing. Nobody is a team of one in big companies. Everybody has a big team around them. They're working with something, and you always having that part that you have dealt with, right?
Mhm.
I have done this X research. This led to Y output. With the researchers gave me this X output. I did this Z output. It's okay. Tell people
Mhm.
that you did this. Okay, you don't know how to do research, but whatever research you did you convey that at least, right? So that's something that I think designers or product managers should be able to convey to everybody.
That's helpful. I want to move into the next aspect. You tweeted, I think, recently about the emotional aspects of a job search.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I feel we need to hear more about that part of it. It can be a roller coaster, right? Like what you face at different stages of the job
Yeah.
seeking process. So, some of the things I can think of are like that whole imposter syndrome thing, the level of confidence you have, comparison, and handling rejection. So, any experience or any stories you have?
Yeah, thinking about that, right? Like a very interesting aspect about job search I've heard from one of our designers was where they had to kind of prove to every single person that this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me, right? It is like you apply to 20 applications and 20 times you have to tell people that this is me. Imagine how that would take the toll on you, that you have to keep proving that I am good at what I'm doing, I am selling the right things. The toughness with which you say it also matters, because there is always somebody who's going to one up you and say that I am better than you, because in the market there will be a lot of people who will be playing for the same level as you, which you apply for in that organization. So we should not feel dejected that we might not get. Of course, I myself will feel the pain sometimes where, like, okay, I'm not doing enough in terms of what I'm doing with whatever content or whatever design that I'm doing. I keep feeling that, oh, not done enough, not done enough. I can do this better. But reserve that for another time, right? Like, for example, I remember we discussing where after finishing the interview, you had got the great feedback from that manager, and you wanted to improve that instantly into your next interview, because you had that thought process that I reflect upon the feedback and then you put it down and then you went to the next interview with this thought process. So have that documentation so that you don't feel that, okay, I have just consumed that negative impression and it's going to take over my whole life. No. In experience school, we're doing some neuroscience class for the students, so I've been part of those sessions where I'm training some of the modules where I'm also going through as a student. In neuroscience, we learned that your negative experiences are 9x more deeper. They go into you 9x deeper than a positive experience. That means your rejection, your trying to prove somebody, there could be that hope is actually diminishing every single time you get a no, and that goes in 9x. For it means for you to hear something positive, you need to go 10x. This could be applied literally anywhere in your life. Like, if you want to tell your mom that what you cooked is great, you have to tell her 10 times, otherwise she will not believe you. You have seen this happen, right? So when, if it is bad, you tell them once. 9 years you might hear about it. That's the reason why you be very clear that, okay, if something is coming at you and you feel it's negative, at least understand, get comfort in the fact that you do take on negative feedback 9 times more than positive feedback. And it's okay. Sometimes you do get negative feedback because you are not a fit for them. Probably you're not a fit for them. But if this happens over a recurring pattern of 5 to 6 jobs, you need to relook and say, what is it that I'm doing differently that I'm not able to secure this opportunity? Can you change it? Right? I myself had a behavior of quickly acting upon whatever comes into my mind. I don't stop, pause, and reflect. So now it is a lot of restraint from my side to hold it and then pause it, reflect it, and then send it out. It is a long process, in my opinion. But for somebody, this process is so natural. So that mental toughness that we have in terms of how we deal with these aspects comes from understanding where you are, why you are, and what's happening. Understand context, context, context. That's all we need to look at. And always remember the fact that it take 9 times versus one time, and then instantly you will be like, okay, I'm overreacting. Chill,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
That's what. So I tend nowadays, I tend to go that side, and I feel better after understanding that. Okay, at least I tell myself I'm better. So that is what I think you need to understand as a mental toughness for anything, not just job search, for
Hmm.
every aspect
Yeah,
of your life.
yeah, yeah. So, what's your go-to advice to job seekers, designers at different levels, especially at a time like this, when we're going through a recession and a time of layoffs happening as well?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's sad. Definitely, we're going through layoffs,
Hmm.
but it's very important we view our situation from a little higher level. Can be hard, but trust me, if you view it from a little higher level, unfortunately, all of us are cogs in this economic machine, right? We are those cogs that are running this buying, selling, demand, supply gap. And when the demand is low, obviously the supply, even though it's high, your uniqueness that you provide as a designer or a product manager is going to go down because there are many people like you. And that's when the demand can pick and choose the cherries and they can leave the rest. It is sad. And if you cannot be a me too anymore. I am also a UI designer cannot work anymore. So that's when the only way that you can write this out is being visible. Being visible is one of the most important things that I would tell everybody to do, which is,
Yeah.
hey, if you are working as a designer, show your work out. We
Hmm.
have some great examples from India itself, like Johnny Mino, Hardik Pandya, all of them. They're consistently showing their work out there where you make everybody who feels like hiring will be the first person to think of. You are available, so let me go ask you. Don't do this when you don't have a job, and stop it as soon as you get a job. No, consistently do it.
Hmm.
Proof of work is very important. If I don't show you proof of work, how would you know that I
Hmm.
exist? There are hundreds of designers out there, hundreds of developers out there, hundreds of product managers out there. What is making you stand out? Have you worked in companies that is making you stand out? Okay, maybe you haven't. Okay, I don't know you. You are amazing talent at this unknown company. Okay, fine. Can you at least do some blogs? Can you ensure that you have talked to some people? Do you have some YouTube videos of you out there that people feel that you're valuable to talk to? Do you have probably a podcast? Come do another podcast. It's okay because your perspective is how you can drive it. So proof of work is very
Hmm.
important. You need to know what is that you're offering, and somebody will figure out what to take
Hmm.
from you.
Hmm.
Can you offer it more openly? If you sit on a corner and I have to discover you, that's not going to happen unless until you work for an awesome company like a G Mafia or something. It's not going to happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I was also going to ask you about personal branding, but glad you mentioned this in this way because this is what personal branding looks like for designers, right? Like, what is proof of work? Who are you? Show me with your work.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I want you to give a note about what Higher Worthy is trying to do and what you're doing, what you're excited about.
Well, so Havati is trying to ensure that every person who is a designer product manager is enabled with the right information so that they can go do their best work. we are thinking of coming up with a lot of things that would help more designers and product managers coming in the forward. And that's the reason being, it's there are not many people who are taking this approach. You need to
Hmm.
know what are the gaps. If I approach it like a design problem, I know that these are the gaps that are happening right now. So I want to help designers and product managers to figure out their point A's, figure out how to go get better, and just overall just have fun doing your work. You should not be sitting there and feeling bad on why did I get into product management. Then don't, please don't do that work. Do
Yeah.
something else. Yeah. So that's what I think. Yes, the whole
Okay.
aspect of Highworthy. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Madhuri. This has been incredibly useful, and I'm sure it's going to help out a lot of designers and even recruiters.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised by how much structure there is within the chaos that is design recruitment.
knowing your point A and also learning about the values and culture of a potential employer can help clear up the fog when you're walking this path.
What might be a dream company for one designer may not even align with what another designer wants.
Hmm. Your unique career path is defined by your skills and how you've used them. So I think making that your purpose can be fulfilling because it's about how you keep growing.
And the future of work is also evolving, right?
Hmm.
Especially in the
Yeah.
past couple of months with the COVID 19 situation, more companies are opening up their minds to remote work. And it's interesting to see the new possibilities that are opening up with collaboration, inclusion, and impact.
Yep, that's true. And there are a lot more facets to the design career. We've put together some helpful resources that you can find on our blog, designlota.com.
Hey listeners, do you have a burning question about your design career? Tweet to us at Design Lota and we'll try to hook you up with resources.
Also, do head over to the Hireworthy podcast by Madhuri, where you'll find some real conversations that help you out.
You can find the references and transcript for this episode on our blog designlota.com.
Stay tuned for more conversations about life as Indian designers.
Until then, bye.